Shalom, shalom, shalom to everyone who's watching live here on the Ways of Israel. We are on Sunday, just the day before what we celebrate in the United States as Memorial Day. And obviously, greater memorial, greater power is that of Torah study and Torah learning, as we've done on a regular basis here on the Ways of Israel. I want to thank you. I want to also thank those who this past week have given donations in tzedakah on behalf of what we're doing throughout Latin America and abroad. Thank you, and thank you. May Hashem bless you. Everyone who has given to the Ways of Israel, and as a result, seeing how we're working incredibly to expand a lot of what we do. Among that is issues of building communities. Now I want to announce to those of you who are in the Houston area, if you live in the Houston area, please pay attention. We have a community in the works that is being built and organized. And we have a rabbi who is out there working with the Ways of Israel. He's an affiliate rabbi, Prophetic, and we want to support what he's doing and encourage you to contact him. You can do so very easily just by sending me an email or say, Rabbi, I want to be part of the Texas Ways of Israel community. Texas. We have two actual potential communities being built. One in Houston and another in El Paso, Texas, not California, El Paso, Texas. I'm very excited to be able to announce this because we're doing a lot of work. We're working very hard to bring people who love God, who loves Torah, who loves the Jewish people, want to be part of Kalat Israel as they gather together. As a matter of fact, a good Rabbi David Kempe, who contacted me this morning, told me, Rabbi, I need your help. We want to do something in the El Paso area. We have someone I want you to contact. And so I left a message for him, see what that will happen. And apparently it's very positive. A whole bunch of people are loving God. And this is one of the things that we see in the book of Zechariah, where it says that 10 men from all the nations will take hold on the border of the garment of he who is a Jew and ask them to teach us about your laws. 613 commandments God has given the Jewish people, and when you attach yourself, you grab hold onto the border of he who is a Jew, you're actually attaching yourself, grabbing hold to the mitzvahs that belong to the Jews and saying, I want to be part of your people, I want to be part of your God, I want you to teach me. I know God has taught you, and that you can teach me about your God. And this is exactly what we're doing worldwide. So it's very exciting, at least for me. Despite all the obstacles that the political, religious world puts up, we are able to overcome them and see little by little people going to Israel and say, it's because of you and what you did that you helped me be part of Kalat Israel, that I'm in Israel today. Now, obviously, as we learn with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, there is no requirement at this time to do Aliyah to Israel. Yet the heart and the souls of so many people want to be there because their soul and their hearts are attached to the godly aspect of this, the very spark of God in them, wanting to be united with the people of Israel in Israel. And we know this will take place in the coming of Mashiach, and will be completely fulfilled all of the things that it says of the prophet. So we're living in great times, no doubt about it. And in my friends from Cuba also telling me the great news, how people are joining Los Caminos Israel in Cuba. Of course, that brings me a lot of joy. And my friend Rabbi Yaakov Baruch, and he has done an incredible work in Indonesia. He's also part of our organization, the Ways of Israel, Darchei Israel, Los Caminos Israel, and he is doing an incredible work in Indonesia. And so every time I see him online, and he's meeting with the ecumenical movement to be able to let them know what Jews believe and really do a Kiddush Hashem in the midst of this beautiful country, I get excited. I don't comment much, But one thing I feel is that this is the guy who I said is for Indonesia, and God is blessing him. And you too should bless him. He needs books. He needs materials. So when you bless Yaakov Baruch in Indonesia and the work he's doing, you see it. You see what's going on there. But we have so many other places that we're working on that would probably blow your brains out, because we're doing things that perhaps other people are not doing. We're jumping obstacles. We're doing things that really brings Kiddush Hashem to everything that we're doing. I'm very happy for that, really am, and in ways it's unspeakable. And there's so much still to do. We have our friend, our Chaver, Rabbi Michael, Rabbi Michael out there, Perry, in Houston, Texas. That's why I was making the announcement. If you live in Houston, Texas, and you want to be part of our community in Texas with Rabbi Michael Perry, contact me. 786-306-8211. Not only in Houston, but we have eyes in El Paso, Texas. We have eyes in Dallas. We have eyes to expand the ways of Israel in Texas in general. Of course, we're in Mexico. We're in Jalisco, Mexico. We are expanding in Mexico. We're expanding throughout Latin America. Not only there, but throughout Latin America and Colombia, with our good friend Rabbi Yeshayahu Casares, who's doing incredible work in Bucaramanga, Colombia, and how much more so also in Peru with Rabbi Israel Susunaga, who's starting with a group there, and also in parts of Argentina, that we have a group there developing with an incredible rabbah, a female leader given smicha to her, but no one else but Rabbi Weiss. And she's doing incredible work. She's doing incredible Kiddush Hashem there. And you know what? I get excited. I get really, really enthused to see what's going on in all of the different communities that we're doing here. We also have eyes in the North Carolina area, the Ohio area, and different parts of the United States. But quietly we're doing and developing this as we get more contacts from different people throughout the world. This is a beautiful thing that's happening. I get excited because I see the faces of these individuals, of these emissaries of Los Caminos de Israel, Ways of Israel. They get excited. We're not here to compete. We're here to bring blessings in the community. So I'll be honest with you, I'm filled with a lot of joy, a lot of enthusiasm. But we're going to get into our study today, because obviously it's a unique day in which we have a chance to be able to delve into the words of the prophets and see what Rabbi Albo, who happens to be a long, firm friend of the family, you might say. I had a good friend who passed away over a year ago. His name was George Albo, a direct descendant of Rabbi Albo, Joseph Albo, from the Sefer Haikkarim, who has done an incredible work in his work of Sefer Haikkarim. And because of his connection with this family, the Otero family in particular, that in fact we helped him, bring him back to Yiddishkeit, got him inside a Chabad shul, who for many years he studied and learned and became a mashgiach here with the ORB, Orthodox Rabbinical Board, and worked in several restaurants down here. And unfortunately we lost him for a particular sickness that was unbeknownst to him and unbeknownst to us. But he had a heart that always would make a joke about anything and everything. That was George Albo. And because of him, and because our interaction, as a matter of fact, our organization was really organized by his work and his influence. And he would say to me on a regular basis, keep on forward, Moshe. Don't stop. You're making a incredible impression and deal in Miami and outside of Miami, with bringing people to Judaism, with bringing people closer to God. And in fact, that's what I have always wanted to do, is to bring people closer to God. Now all the words of the prophets are true without a doubt. And nevertheless, we read in chapter 17 of Rabbi Albo's third book, nevertheless there is a difference in decree. The greater the dignity of a prophet, the higher the degree of his prophetic inspiration. The greater the truth value of his words. Some prophets, by reason of their weakness of comprehension, do not apprehend things with sufficient clearness. Prophetic apprehension has certain similarities to sensible apprehension. If a sense of faculty or organ are healthy and strong, it apprehends the object, whereas it's weak and it does not apprehend them clearly, it may apprehend the species to which the object belongs, or may apprehend the genus only without being able to tell what species it belongs. Thus, a person who has the power and the vision apprehends color correctly, as far as, example, red or green. But he has also apprehends the degree of the redness or the greenness. On the other hand, a person with weak vision apprehends the genus only, and he will only know its color and no more. Or he may know that the species too, that is red or green, but will not know what degree of redness or greenness it is. The same thing is true in hearing and other sensibilias. The same thing applies to the prophetic apprehension. The prophet, who has a strong power of apprehension, perceives the thing as it was without imagination, and his words came out clear and not obscure. Hence, they may be understood in their literal meaning. On the other hand, a prophet who is inferior in degree to the one mentioned will express himself in an obscure language, in riddles and in parables, which are not clear. Hence, the truth is not in the literal meaning, but in the allusion. If his words are taken literally, one can get an idea different from the one intended. And thus Ezekiel, prophesying after the exile, speaks in parables and riddles, which cannot be understood literally. Too much so that he complains about this to God. And they say of me, is he not a maker of parables? And similarly with Zechariah, coming towards to the end of his prophetic period, experiences prophetic inspiration and visions, the truth of which lay not in the vision itself as it appeared, but in the ideas which it suggested. Thus when we say, or he says, that he saw horses and women and a golden candelabrum and two olives upon it, the candelabrum and the olives are not to be taken as real things, but only as alluding to a certain idea. And thus Jeremiah, on the other hand, who lived before the destruction of the temple, spoke always plainly and clearly. God himself made clear difference between Moses' prophecy, and that of the others. In relation to the prophecy of Moses, he says with them, do I speak mouth to mouth, even mainly not in dark speeches? From this we infer that the other prophets spoke in dark speeches where we were not clear and saw the visions which were not real. For this reason, the prophetic message must be interpreted so as to agree with the words of Moses. In general, the words of an inferior prophet must be interpreted so as to agree and not to be in conflict with the words of a superior prophet. For example, Isaiah says, I saw the Lord sitting upon the throne, high and lifted, whereas Moses says, for a man shall not see me and live. Now, if we did not know the relative greatness of these two, we would suppose that Isaiah's words are true, should say that the reason of his greatness as a prophet, he apprehended as much as he can apprehend from God, and hence he said, and I saw the Lord. While Moses, being inferior to Isaiah and having apprehended of God only very little, said, man shall not see me and live. But since we know that Moses was the master of the prophets, concerning the Bible says, and the Lord spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks unto his friend, if there be a prophet among you, I the Lord do make myself known unto him in a vision. I don't speak with him in a dream. But my servant Moses is not so. With him, I do speak mouth to mouth, even manifestly, and not in dark speeches. And we know that the words of Moses are true, and they are literal in meaning, while the words of Isaiah, who was inferior to Moses, are not correct. It was because his inferiority that he said, "And I saw the Lord," because he thought he had seen God, but he had not really seen him, except in the imagination. Moses, on the other hand, in whose prophetic inspiration and the imagination played no part at all, but the only reason only has separated from all the corporeal powers, said, "For man shall not see me and live," which is the truth. It's emet. Isaiah, on the other hand, made use of the power of the imagination and called by the rabbis a non-transparent class, and hence it was misled. It was misled to thinking that he saw God. He was not aware that his perception was in error due to the imagination. He said, too, explaining that his matter was not pure as that of Moses. Because I am a man of unclean lips, and that his moral qualities were not all that they should be, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for association with the men of Israel, the men of bad morals and corrupt morals of a good man. This is why he complained, "Woe is me, for I am affected by the imagination." The meaning is that I am affected by the power of the imagination, and my prophetic inspiration is not through human glass like that of Moses, who heard a voice speaking to him without seeing any image before his eyes. But as my prophecies, though a non-luminous glass, though the medium of the power of imagination, I am not able to apprehend speech without seeing a form and the act of speaking. And this is due to the fact that I am a man of unclean lips, that I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. And therefore I complain and say, "Woe is me, for I'm influenced by imagination. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." And I know that it is the work of the imagination, for God cannot have any attributes or likeness ascribed to him, even in a prophetic vision. One prophesies through a luminous glass. Now this is the meaning of the statements of the Rabbi Menashe, who killed Isaiah. Then they say, "I first tried him, and they killed him. He said to him, your teacher Moses said, man shall not see me and live, whereas you say, I saw the Lord." Then they remarked that Isaiah could not or could have answered Menashe, but did not, because he knew that would not accept his answer. And the answer he could have given him made is that even concerning the contemporaries of Moses, it is said, "And they saw the God of Israel," because their apprehension was not through a human glass. From all of this, it is clear that the inferior prophet must not oppose the words of a prophetic or a prophet who is superior to him, but that as his word must be also interpreted, that they should not conflict with the words of the superior, that being Moses. Now, since it is clearly stated in the Torah that the prophecy of Moses stands on a high plane, and that any other prophet, it follows that if we cannot accept the words of any other prophet in opposition to or refutation of the words of Moses, however, any prophet may interpret the words of Moses and say that though they are stated without qualifications, that they are conditional in their meaning, or the time limitation should be attached to them, though no such limitation is explicitly stated. This will be obviously discussed in the sequel with the help of God, says Rabbi Albo. And we'll take a look at that in chapter 18 of the next video, where he deals with the great difference between a thing which a prophet learns from God and a thing which is told by him by another prophet, a thing which is which a prophet hears from God cannot be abolished unless it subsequently hears it from God's statement, which is opposed to the first. And we'll take a look at this in chapter 18 of book number 3 of Rabbi Joseph Albo. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you will share this video with others. The importance of the words of Rabbi Albo in regards and in relationship to the prophetic senses of revelation of the prophets. So stay tuned for our continuing series of Sefer Haikkarim. Shalom, shalom, and a lot of blessing to all of you in this upcoming Memorial Day.